TV, and I'm your host, Udwa Kamimo. Now, one of the toughest jobs in any government administration has to be that of raising, managing, and allocating finances. That job is all the more tougher in a context of crisis, corruption, and general suspicion. Well, the person who's been in that position for the past 5 years is the Cabinet Secretary for the Treasury, Henry Rotich. He's our guest this morning, and you'll notice that we have just the one panelist today, Mutegi Njau. Charles Oziambo is away on assignment. So good morning, sir, and welcome to the show.
Good morning.
Let's get the big picture first to help us understand the state of the country's affairs. Because when you first took up your position in 2013, the feeling was that Kenya had a lot of promise, ours was a resilient economy, and that we were ready to take off. To what extent has that promise been fulfilled?
Well, thank you very much for that question. First, I want to still say that the economy is still resilient. As you know, we are really operating in an environment that is really very challenging. Since the global financial crisis in 2008-9, the global environment has been extremely vulnerable and very tricky to operate in. But against all those odds, the Kenyan economy has continued to grow consistently. From 2013, we've grown by over 5%. Last year, 2016, we're expecting to achieve 6%. The numbers are yet to come out, but at least 3/4 numbers are already out, and indicates that growth is around that figure. So really, to grow in an environment like that, where other economies are actually even growing at negative, if you pick a country like Nigeria, South Africa, their growths are flat. These are big economies in Africa, and generally many African countries have faced big challenges. I mean, you go to the Eurozone, you go to the US, their growths have been just between 1 to 2%. So to grow at 6% is really respectable. Obviously, would have grown far much better. We have been talking of 7 to 10%, but the constraints globally has actually made us a little bit difficult to achieve those growths that we had projected. But I want to say that sustaining it also is something that is very critical. Growing by 5% over the last 4 or 5 years is something that means that some of the fundamentals in the economy are still very sound. Just to give you a few, like the macro environment, inflation, exchange rate has remained more or less stable, save in a period in 2014 thereabout, when it weakened to 100, but it has remained stable since then. So I would say that were it not for all these challenges, commodity prices falling, security challenges that we face, particularly terrorism, which affected our tourism, growth would have been obviously far much higher than what we're talking about. But as I said, it's still respectable compared to what is happening in other countries. And this is attributed to our economic agenda, where we have actually focused on investing in infrastructure. We have also ensured that we have improved the business environment to attract foreign investors. And these are some of the key agenda that the Jubilee administration set itself to do from 2013.
Okay. Why is it that the shilling is declining against the dollar?
Well, there was, of course, a little bit of recent weakening by a small margin. I wouldn't say that it was a big depreciation. Some of it is attributed to what is happening in the US. The dollar strengthened. As you know, the developments in the US, people are still uncertain on what policies the US are going to adopt, especially when they talk of a more inward-looking policy agenda, which obviously the market may read that the U.S. economy is likely to strengthen in view of its focus on domestic economy. So, you know, markets read things very quickly and that's manifested immediately in the currency. So a little bit of some movement on that. This season also, December, January, there is always huge demand for dollars, but now I think things have stabilized. I think we had huge foreign exchange reserves. The central bank intervened, and that way we have managed to achieve stability. Also, you need to know that our currency is the only currency that did not weaken heavily like others. You know, we only lost about 25 to 30% there. If you compare to other currencies like the South African rand, the Ghanaian cedi, Zambia, all these currencies weakened by almost 60–70%. So in a way, also our currency didn't weaken so much, and perhaps there's still some adjustments that is happening. But I want to say, because of our prudent macroeconomic policies, we were able to manage our currency in a way that it didn't depreciate like any other currencies.
Okay, and you were asked this question earlier. We'll ask it for the benefit of our viewers. In terms of domestic revenue mobilization,
yeah.
Where do we stand? Are you pleased? How does that square in the big picture?
I would say so far performance has been satisfactory. We faced challenges over the last 2 financial years.
What were those challenges?
The challenges came about because of first, I think we were still adjusting to the new legal environment, particularly the new VAT law, the new excise law that we were still working on, and there was also administrative challenges. There were some leakages, you know, in the custom section. There was also challenges in the income tax collection after devolution. A little bit of accessing tax collection in a devolved structure was a bit challenged, but all these issues have now been addressed. And this financial year, I must say really that going by the trend, I think I would say that the revenue performance has been much better than the last 2 financial years, where we had huge shortages. In fact, first half alone, we used to have shortages to the tune of 24–25 billion. Now we are talking of something like 3–4 billion, which is, we think that we can recoup that in the second half of this financial year, which is already started.
That's ambitious, given that this is an election year, isn't it? Well,
revenue collection won't so much be affected by electioneering as such. In any case, there's a lot of spending that's going to happen.
But doesn't the expenditure, doesn't that then therefore erode any gains you make from revenue collection?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I can talk about what will happen with the expenditure, but the critical thing is first, are we going to achieve our revenue targets is key. From our projections, we think that we are on course. Obviously, there is the challenges that we are facing at the moment, especially the drought and all this.
And we'll come to those in a minute.
And that may affect how we perform. On the expenditure side, yes, there is obviously adjustments we have to do again. As you know, I had just submitted a supplementary budget recently in December, but a lot of things have happened since then. The impact of the drought has been a little bit bigger than as we had expected in October. There have been some strikes, and we have agreed to some return to work formula with the nurses. The doctors, we are yet to conclude those discussions, and many things that come. So that will mean that, again, we have to look at our expenditures to ensure that we live within fiscal framework that is sustainable.
You describe your challenge, one of them as leakage. To me, it is not leakage, it is corruption. That staff in the Kenya Revenue Authority, unlike before, the tendency these years is to evade collecting. And therefore, that you're describing as challenge. In fact, there was a move to have a lifestyle audit of staff in the Kenya Revenue Authority. I don't know whether it did happen.
Well, look, when I said challenge, yes, part of it is associated with that, and we are addressing that through, that audit which the KRA board is managing through their internal procedures. I think the issue of revenue leakage is much wider than just talking about corruption. There are issues of how we manage the containers at the Port of Mombasa. There is issues about how we value our imports that come into the country, and many of these. So that's why we were trying to, get the right values so that verify some of the containers and all that. So there is a procedure sometimes which are very bureaucratic. It sort of encourages rent-seeking opportunities and the like. So it just goes beyond just ordinary corruption, which is something that is important. We are actually working to improve the custom management system by upgrading or even doing away with the Simba system that is currently in place, because we think sometimes it could be open to some manipulation and all that. So it goes much wider than that. So it needed us to address it from a very different interventions that we had to do, dealing with how to improve verification, how to improve the processes in the Port of Mombasa, the ICT infrastructure, and the people itself, which is now this issue you're talking about, corruption. So many things there that was causing some leakages, and it's only in the custom department. There's also in the VAT section and also in the income tax. So
we've moved into the sphere of corruption. So when you tell us that there's been respectable growth in the country, and it sounds that we're doing well, how do those economic gains sit against the allegations we hear of corruption, grand corruption, whether it's NYS, whether it's Afia House? How do they sit against the things we hear, the mismanagement we hear is taking place both at the national and county level? I think this issue, and I think you people in the press also need to appreciate this very clear, that there's a lot of... Media or press? For all of us? All of you. I think if you look at the issue of, corruption, I think there's sometimes over-dramatized. I don't know, maybe that's... Over-dramatized? Right. In what sense? I mean, you see, if you look at what has been going on, the issue of, say, NYS, this has been repeated in the media for almost 2 years. Same issue. Because it has not been resolved. I'll come to that. Yes, but it is the same thing. That's what I'm saying. It's been spun every. And that is now being used as, that is, government is corrupt. I would have understood if you could give me a list of many things that you think has gone wrong as is corruption. I'll come to what you said in the health and all that. But I just wanted to... We had a parliamentary session where someone talked about carrying bags of money in paper bags. What does that sound like to you? Obviously, that's what I made reference to the NYS, because that is related to the... So when you accuse the media, therefore, of harping on about this, and the question is, the leakage, of money carried in paper bags versus, what you're telling us about respectable economic growth, how do you explain that to the Kenyan public? Well, growth is something that is happening because of the many implementation of our agenda. Isn't this growth on paper, though? This is growth that is reported by an independent agency, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. But when I say paper, I mean that Mutegi and I and our viewers are not feeling it. Yeah, we can come to there. I think let's separate. Let's deal with the issues of corruption and the issue of how the growth is triggering to the common man.
On the issue of, you just mentioned of corruption, yes, there have been some incidents that have been highlighted, and especially just singled out the NYS issue. What I was just saying is that they keep on repeating the same thing, and the country is tagged as corrupt. Now let's go to the other issue that has been
resolved.
Yes.
But Waziri, let me tell you this. In this country, you are saying give us a list.
Yes.
Of the corruption we own, NYS and Ministry of Health. Isn't it a fact that during Jubilee time, cabinet secretaries, your colleagues have been sacked because of corruption? Or allegations. And,
yes.
And nobody has been taken to court. This government has not made, or even the previous government, they have not made corruption unprofitable. You are stopped from wherever you are, Waiguru, or wherever you are, you still remain with your money. So corruption.
Let me just tell you what really the government has done in this issue, and probably it does not come out very clean. If there is any government that has really addressed this issue, Edo, which the president himself has talked about this thing. Talked. Yes, and acted. There are many things that have been done. We have now the agencies coordinating on
have
this
accounts
matter.
Been frozen? Yeah.
Yes, they are. As we talk now, we have the asset recovery fund. Those have been recovered, and many, about I think 300 and something cases are now in the court.
Recovered from
we
individuals?
have never had such a number in the past. You need to look at this compared to previous governments, and also ask how much they did do, how many people were arraigned in courts. We are talking of about 300, over 300 plus.
How many convictions?
I think that is an issue now that has to be dealt with the judiciary. You see, you can't expect the government to, they have done investigation, they have done the prosecution. There is other arms of government that are supposed to deal with the part on judging whether there is sufficient evidence to do that. This is should leave it to judiciary. You can't sit here and say we have to see conviction. It has to be proved in the court of law that so and so as actually there is enough evidence to jail and all that. You don't expect the government to do that. Otherwise, what we would have a judiciary.
So when you talk about the asset recovery, just as you respond to this, have any assets been recovered from your former colleagues who've had to step aside?
There have been. Okay, I think the ones you're stepping aside, some have, yes, they've stepped aside, but there have not been evidence. Some they have not been taken to court. I think probably 2 or 3 have been taken to court, but the rest, the evidence have not been to move it to court.
Why is there no evidence?
Perhaps there is no evidence. So fast.
It's not because there is no evidence. It's because corruption. They have the money.
Look, you cannot be a judge also yourself.
No,
not saying that yes, somebody has been identified. There must be enough evidence to judge somebody, and that is the agencies. There is an agency that does investigation. Yeah, they have done their job. There is an agency that prosecutes based on evidence provided. So
if there's no evidence, these people are without blemish, why not bring them back into government?
Now, that's not my prerogative.
That's above your
but I just want to say that, look, most of the things that probably were taken to anti-corruption probably were just allegations. You have to prove, you have to prove. I mean, somebody cannot say, Edward Omimo here is corrupt, and you just write in Twitter and say corrupt, and then EFCC comes and investigates you, and then doesn't have any evidence. Then you say, oh, because the media reported that Edward Omimo is corrupt, she must be jailed. I mean, there must be clear evidence. And then the prosecutor must see that really this is concrete. And then take it to judiciary. Then the judges will look at this and say, yes, the story. Then they make the conviction.
Give you an example.
So that is how the chain of handling this happened. Tell me what is wrong with that chain.
They're not corruption. The wrong with it is corruption. Let me give you an example of Cheche.
Yeah.
People in UK were convicted.
Yeah. This is the IBC scandal.
Yeah. Yeah. And the Minister of and the Examination Council.
Yeah.
Neither people in the IBC nor people in the Examination Council in this country were prosecuted. When the Ethics and Corruption Commission did investigation, they recommended to the DPP. The DPP said more investigation be done. The matter is still in limbo. So why would I not steal? Given an opportunity, because nothing happens to me.
See, but I'm taking, that is the structure we have set, that there is an independent investigating agency. They've done their job. Then there is another independent agency doing the prosecution. And to prosecute, you must have concrete evidence to take it to court. You had recently the judge, the Chief Justice saying, please make sure you bring cases that are solid for them.
And you will never get anything.
Now,
I can assure you, you won't get.
Well, if you don't get it, then there is no maybe there was no corruption in that case.
There was no corruption.
Or
there's more corruption.
So look, I'm not trying to I'm just trying to tell you how the process works, and you everybody understand. Okay. And the issue of that's why let me go back to where I said that I want us to get very clearly that yes, apart from the NYS, which have been a bit of some have been repeated several times, and then the whole country is tagged as corrupt. Let's talk about health. Health was just a preliminary report that was not even yet to be answered by the officers within, and then it just went to the media, and the story is pinned every day. 5 billion lost, 5 billion lost. We did even ourselves got concern on the issue. We did a quality assurance of that work, and you are very clear. Containers were brought in. Everything is there.
They're not in hospitals.
That's a different issue.
Prices, though.
That's a different issue.
The prices are.
That is why the issue now of why are they not yet in a hospital? Maybe there are still issues of installation and all that. I don't want to know what. But the most important thing is that what we're saying is that money is missing. So, are you going to say that the government is corrupt because of just something that cannot be verified? And that is between every day. Now, when
isn't that an indictment of the government, though, and your office, if you can't verify the location of this money? Because you oversight.
We have done the integrity check and the assurance check of this audit, and it's very clear that the deliveries were done.
But the people, we know the people who delivered. We know the people who got the tender. So what are you telling us?
No.
Who did the same containers?
You see, if you are contracted to deliver this, and you deliver, and it is there, the evidence is there. Now the issue of price, you can check that. How much was it in the container? What is the specification?
Have you verified yourself as a ministry?
Yeah, we have
that proper.
We have done, first to make sure that the goods were delivered and all that has been done. Whether the value for money audit is still an ongoing work to establish first. Was there value for money for that activity? But generally, yes. What was reported was that the money disappeared, no services delivered. We have verified that the services were delivered. The question is there value for money? Everything that is across the board, you have to check everything in whether it is in transport, whether it is in that issues of value for money. Yes, there are still challenges in other areas, but you cannot generalize that.
So very quickly, to go back to the original question before we take a break, when you tell us that we are achieving respectable, sound growth, and we hear about, you know, all this grand corruption, how does that translate into any sort of meaningful impact on the lives of ordinary Kenyans?
So I've explained to you about the issue of how corruption has been spinned in this case, but on the issue really on trickling down to common wananchi, yes, it is important that the expenditures that we do ensures that it is pro poor in a way that the poor benefits. Let me give you an example how we have ensured that this growth is distributed equally. We may not have achieved equality, but it is a progressive process. So we have invested heavily on health. Yeah? Health touches everybody. Yeah? Education, we have enhanced the capitation.
And that's in your supplementary budget. So
this has been over the last 2 years. The budget's capitation has been increased progressively to ensure that everybody, we achieve true free primary education and free day secondary education. If the common manager is not paying school fees, is not paying maternity care, that is a trickle-down effect to the population. The cash transfers is now approaching 1 million. That is cash transfer to ordinary mwananchi. And you go and see people in the village, all the people, children with HIV, they are getting 2,000 bob every month. Now, if the economy wasn't growing, how would we have financed those? So I think it is important that we just don't make a sweeping statements that the economy is growing and where is it. There are currently people in the lower quartile of our population that are really benefiting from the growth. Maybe the middle class may not be feeling, but you need more growth. That's why we're emphasizing we need to grow 7-10%. As you say, you have to bake the pie to be big to distribute. You can't distribute something small. So that's really the strategy. As you grow, distribute more so that it is an inclusive growth as we go forward. So that's really how this should trickle down. And many other things that has to be done in terms of ensuring equity.
And we'll pick that up after the break. This is Cheche, and we're live on Citizen TV. Today's guest is the Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, Henry Rotich. If you've got any questions for him, our SMS number is 22422, and on Twitter, our hashtag is Cheche.